What happens when one of the most iconic guitarists in rock history handpicks you for his band? In this episode of The Trout Show, the Trout sits down with internationally acclaimed guitarist Nicolas Meier, known for his stunning blend of jazz, flamenco, and world music, to talk about his incredible journey through the music world. He dives into how Jeff Beck discovered him, what it was like to tour with a legend, and his evolution as a solo artist and composer. If you love guitar mastery and behind-the-scenes stories from the road, you won't want to miss this conversation. Now here's The Trout with Nicolas Meier.
I'm watching YouTube, and this video shows up. And it's this guy called Jeff Beck.
All right.
And he's playing this song called Big Block, which is one of my favorite songs
Yes.
he's ever done. And then over in the corner is this guy, I don't know who he is. And he's standing there playing rhythm, because I saw Jeff about a few years before that. And then I watch him and I go, okay, who is this guy? Because, you know, then all of a sudden you show up on my feed. I'm going,
Wow.
oh my God, it's him. It's you.
Wow. See, I think you asked the computer and the computer understood and then it showed it. Wow.
But the one thing that's been bothering me ever since I've seen that, and of course when I saw him, Rhonda was playing with him too. Who is the drummer?
The drummer was Jonathan Joseph.
Okay. Because I hadn't seen him in a lot of other things. When he's playing Big Block, then there's the bridge, and then you hit a pedal that gives you kind of a synth sound.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, because I thought, wait a minute, he's playing the chords, but it sounds like a synth sound, because and so tell me what was that you were playing?
Oh, wonderful. Well, on the concert, I was using a Godin guitar, LGXT,
Okay.
and they are made so I can go with one jack, I can go to the Marshall, have the regular sound from the pickup.
Yeah.
I can then another jack takes the piezo, and I can go acoustic through
wow.
to two other amps to have an acoustic sound with different effects.
Yeah.
And then of course there's the MIDI pickup. MIDI of course coming from the piezo. And
yeah.
this is sent to the Roland GR55.
Oh, so
and
that's what you were
horns.
doing. Okay. Now it makes sense, because at first I thought I didn't see you play because the camera went to a different angle. And then I saw you and I went, okay, he's playing some kind of MIDI stuff. He has to be, because, you know,
Yes,
I know, I don't know Jeff, but I didn't know Jeff, but I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't allow anybody to play music in the background, like, you know, tape. I don't think that. I want to stay on that for just a minute, because I want to get back to you.
Sure.
as far as your where you grew up and all that stuff, and now your guitar work. How did you get involved with him, with Jeff
Oh.
Beck?
Well,
I'm going to guess. Okay, let me guess. Did John McLaughlin have anything to do with it?
No.
Okay.
I wish.
Well, only because he's jazz. You played with him. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm a fan of John, of course. So I live in Guildford for the last 25 years, and I've been playing with a lot of different bands, and of course my own, writing a lot of music. And this one night I was playing at Ronnie Scott with it was a very interesting project with two guitars, acoustic guitar, violin, and cello. So we were mixing jazz, classical, and fusion, and we were playing some standards, some famous classical pieces, and then some of the guitar player Pete Oxley, his composition, and some of mine.
Okay.
And I was playing Yemin. You might have heard my tune Yemin that we actually play with Jeff hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And so that night, Jeff was in the audience. So how lovely it was when we just played, and at the end we just sat down and here's Jeff, and here's Jeff actually coming to us and being interested in what we were playing, and then asking me a question about my guitars, and my fretless. I had fretless guitar and acoustic
I want to talk to you
guitar.
about that later, but go ahead.
Yes, and then enjoying that tune, Yemin, and that was a great start. And I was really enjoying that without thinking anything. And then I said, well, I'm doing my album launch in the next club in a week time, and that was From Istanbul to Ceuta with a Smile. It's a big long composition.
I saw that. Yeah, I listened to that.
And
yeah.
I said, yeah, I'm playing this, and so join us if you want, if you like what you hear. And he showed up there too, and that was marvelous. And then what was really fun is that the violin player I play with, Lizzie Ball, she before the second concert, she said, well, it seems Jeff was practicing your tune, Yemin.
Oh, wow.
He was really enjoying that one. So maybe one day we'll play it. Here we go. And after the album launch, we start to meet up a bit more, start to write. Then we did a little local thing. And then one day was, let's go on tour. That was it. It was marvelous.
And you were on tour, what, a couple of years with him?
Yeah, 2.5 years. Yeah, almost 3 years. Yeah.
Did you come? I know you were in Japan when that video I saw that was shot. And I assume do you come to the States with that tour too, or did you?
Yeah, 3 or 4 times. Yeah. One time we opened we played with Brian Wilson. That we did that tour, and then we did 2 tours, and there was a few shows with ZZ Top, which was great.
My buddies here, my Texas buddies, yeah.
Yes. That was also one of the first solo I ever learned is Rough Boy. I love that tune. And I said to Jeff, yeah, the one song you have to play is Rough Boy. I don't care about anything else.
Isn't it funny what different music people are attracted to?
Yes.
I mean, you would think that you'd be wanting to play anything, that's more of a boogie, more blues based, but then it's like Rough Boy. I'm like, okay, well, I know that song. Duh. Yeah, I know it very well. And here's a side note, though. I am from Texas. I am a native, and I saw them before they became famous.
Fantastic.
They came to my town, and actually, my band was supposed to open for them. And everybody kind of ZZ, what the ZZ what, and none of them had beards. They were just starting on the road, and Billy wore John Lennon glasses and no facial hair,
Wow.
and so in those years later, I saw him again. I go, what happened to him? But I want to get back because I know aren't you getting ready to tour and do some Jeff Beck stuff? Aren't you? Is that coming?
Yeah, well, we started this week already, and now we have 1 or 2 days off, and then we do next week again. And it's a great friend of mine, Dudley Ross, and he had this idea to do a tribute with Jack Griffith, both great guitar player, both in love with what Jeffy does, and very influenced by them. And I met him 2 years ago, and then he said, well, I'm going to do that tour. Are you interested? And I said, I can't join. I can't join. It's been the best thing in my life, one of the best thing in my life to play. And it's hard to go on stage now to play these songs without
sure.
And I want to keep it like this.
Yeah. And
at some point then, I said, well, but I have something interesting. I could do the first part of the show. And I was making last year, I made a record called Last Sunset. And these are all the composition I wrote during my time with Jeff. So lots of the songs we did, where we recorded it, we played it live, but it was not released for some reason.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I want to make, that's the own memory of Jeff. I want to make an album with all the songs or the best work I've done for him. And well, I'm going to play the guitar. So obviously I don't play like Jeff. I play like myself, but that's what I learned.
Nobody played like Jeff.
Yeah.
No.
But the best thing I learned from Jeff is don't copy, just do your thing. But the whole experience was amazing because I was really getting into that vibe of the time I was recording and composing those pieces, and I was trying to feel, oh, now I'm recording a solo. Maybe Jeff is near me and he's gonna give me some advice. He won't tell me play like me. He will tell me play like yourself, but take all your qualities, and that was really fun.
You grew up in Switzerland, is that correct?
Yes, I'm from Switzerland, from Fribourg, close to Montreux.
Okay, so are you in the French side or the German side?
Yeah, French side, Montreux,
side.
Lausanne, Montreux Jazz Festival, famous festival
Oh yes,
there.
absolutely.
And I had great teachers there. I had a nice conservatoire. I did a bit of rock, lots of jazz. I had great jazz teachers. I played big band. I had already my fusion band there. And about when I finished college in Switzerland, and my parents said, well, if you get your degree, then you can go play music in the States. So that's what I did after that.
When you grew up, when would you first start playing? How old were you when you picked up your first guitar? Do you remember?
I was 11.
You're 11, around the same time. I was 12, around that.
Nice.
And do you remember what was your first real guitar that you had?
Yeah, I started with classical music. But my first electric guitar was an Ibanez Art Star, John Scofield.
John Scofield, okay.
I wanted to go into jazz, and then somebody suggested that. You know, at the beginning, sometimes you don't really choose. You just, oh, it looks good. What about this one? It looks great, so I love it. And then later on, I got a Frank Gambale, Ibanez.
Oh yeah.
And I got a Strat at some point, but it was never my thing. I was more either into the jazz thing or into more heavier stuff. So
you never did one to 335 or something like a semi-auto body?
Well, I had that Art Star, which was kind of a 335 type, but then I sold it for a more heavier guitar, Music Man, and then at the same time I was into the more hollow body ones. So
I think the one thing after learning about, first off, I can't imagine how people, if someone of that, Jeff's come up to you and said, hey, I want you to join. Now, he'd already seen you a lot, so he knew your quality of playing. Because you're joining it's like the Oscar winner right there. You're not joining. The guy's got Grammys and all that stuff. And and he's also one of those people that nobody knows a lot about. He kept to himself all the time. I know he was a big car guy. He wanted to redo American hot rods. But you never saw anything about him. He kept his personal life personal.
Yes.
And then, excuse me. And then when he did talk, he didn't have much to say. In other words, you better listen because he's not a big talker. So I can't imagine, because when I saw him, it was Rhonda was on bass, the keyboard player that played with him at Ronnie Scott's,
Jason Rebello.
Yeah, Rebello, and it wasn't Vinny on the drums. It was
It was Narada.
That's him. He was a producer for Aretha Franklin or something. Yeah, that was who was on the bass. And it was interesting because you never knew who he was going to show up with. But when I saw you up there, I thought, okay, I know anybody, and then that is standing on stage with him is never going to be crappy. You got to be really good. But you also, I would think, the whole time you're playing with them, after a while, of course, you're on tour for a long time. You're not competing. That's the one thing I learned. No. You don't compete. You play one way, other people play a different way. But the one thing I liked about what I read about you was you're kind of a guy that I kind of like in the aspect that you've tried and do so many different types of music. And so when I was watching your videos and listening to music, and then I'm going like, how does he get that? And then I saw the fretless guitar. How did that come about? Did you see somebody else playing a fretless guitar, or was that kind of your idea? Because obviously they have fretless bass for a long time.
Well, it's a long development. I think, first of all, when I was a kid, of course, I started playing guitar I start a little bit from the beginning, and then I go to the fretless. So I play some Metallica and Iron Maiden, but then I turn very quickly into jazz, into Chick Corea and into Herbie Hancock, and my parents were into jazz, and they brought me to Montreux Jazz Festival, and pretty soon I saw Steve Vai, Satriani, and Van Halen, all this. So I think what happened with me, I got really into jazz, into all the harmony, but I had all this mix of music that I loved. I always kept loving rock and metal. And then I got into Al Di Meola, John McLaughlin, and Paco de Lucia. And I realized they all have their own sound and own career from a different place. And that was so exciting to hear some Indian music and then some Argentinian music from Al Di Meola and then flamenco. And I think with time, I got into Godin and nylon string a lot, fingerstyle and picking, and everything started to mix really, really crazy from one to another. So the funny thing is, I had hard time, for example, in a jazz gig, just to play jazz. I had to go this way or that way, depend on the energy. And then I met my wife, who's Turkish. So I met her in London, but suddenly I discovered this world of Mediterranean music and Oriental music, and is as vast as our Western music. Mm-hmm. And suddenly it's like, wow, all these sounds that I love. And so I got into the saz, and I got into the oud, which is fretless, and I heard these quarter tones and the spices, and I wanted more for that. So I got myself a Godin fretless and a glissentar, which is a copy of a lute.
Okay.
I experimented a lot with it. So the fretless is like a 6-string normal nylon. Right. The glissentar is 11-string, like 5 double and 1 single. It's also like a guitar, but 5 double and 1 single.
Is it tuned the same way, or is it tuned differently?
It's tuned in D, so a tone lower.
Oh, okay.
But usually on a oud, they tune it in fourth because they only play melodies, usually.
Oh, okay.
But I wanted to play chords, so I tuned it like a guitar, so I could also vary this. And so with time, listening more of this music and writing a lot, I always wrote since I was 12, wrote music and experiment with sound and Western, Eastern. And I got into this all fun thing. And I think that's what made me a little bit different, and probably that's what Jeff was attracted to.
How does it affect your growth, or not really your growth, but your whole job, so to speak, of earning money, when you don't, you could play at Montreux and play jazz, but then you can turn right around and do fusion, and then you can go and do some Turkish music or all this. How does that affect you personally from trying to get gigs?
Well, one of my main product, it's my Nicolas Meier group, or Nicolas Meier world group.
I did see that, yeah.
Yes, and the world group is the main thing. I can play it as a trio, quartet, quintet, sextet. And then now this new band, the Infinite Band, where we play some Jeff stuff,
right,
it can also be included in that. So it's just the problem, I have to take another guitar. I already have 3 or 4 guitars on every gig. So another rock guitar, it's a lot. But that's who I am, yeah, I navigate. But I think it's the writing. I focus on the writing and the sound of a band. And I think that's what I'm selling, basically. And of course, I can play other people's music. And very soon, 6 months, I have another collaboration with a wonderful singer from England, a Nigerian English singer called Ola Onabule.
Oh, wow.
And Ola Onabule. I will be able to write. And he's quite popular. He does big band around the world. But we wrote also this music very eclectic, but acoustic between guitar and voice. There's a full band, but that's the main element. And I think even though it's another product, you will be able to hear it's still me in there. That's the way I play. That's the way I hear harmony, and we wrote it together. But I think that's what also attracted him. And for me, having a singer was great. It was just that's
Oh
another.
yeah.
Instead of having a violin, I have a singer. Of course,
Oh
there's
yeah.
lyrics included, all this, and
But you're in a situation, and I think Europe is different too, because I think Americans want to go and hear somebody that plays this type music. In Europe is more, I don't know how to say it, but I mean the fact that you could, well, you're in UK now. If you go to London, you got all these different people that are playing different music all the
yes,
time.
they are. There
So
is
when
very
you
creative.
come to see you, you don't know what you know what you're going to get, but you know what you're not going to get. In other words, it's not going to be an hour and a half of every Eagles song, every Beatles song, whatever the soup du jour is of that day. And I think that really is kind of a cool way of looking at it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's completely different. And then the other thing too is it influences people differently.
Mm,
Music that you play, may never heard that type of music before.
mm.
So you're really doing a couple that you're educating and performing at the same time.
Yes, and I would say very often when I go to a place, and half of the people may seem before, the other half is new. I often say, look, we're going to take you in a journey around the world. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take 5, 10 minutes. We're going to go to Argentina, play some tango. And then we're going to go to USA, play some swing, maybe with some Caribbean sound. And then we go to Europe and play Oriental sound, and then maybe flamenco sounding. But at the same time, it's still the sound of one band, even though we carry them around. And I understand because it's very often original music and something they haven't heard. People need a little bit of explanation, so you need
Mm,
to tell them, I wrote this piece there, and I got influenced by this picture, and I'm using that sound. So let's go there for a few minutes and enjoy the trip. And that's what a lot of people coming out of the concerts feel really good about this traveling. And I think the other thing which is quite particular about my music is quite happy, and that's what
mm,
I want. I want people to come out with 2 hours of music with a happy feeling. We're in a world with
good.
there's a lot of bad things happening, a lot of
Agree.
war,
Agree.
unnecessary things, but uh, we have to always remember it's a beautiful world. We have a beautiful world, and we have to try to respect and to get the positive out of it.
Well,
So
and
yeah.
music has no language.
Mm.
I mean, when you play something, especially if you don't have a singer, even if you have a singer, I mean, I don't really like opera, but I can appreciate the quality of the musicianship that goes into it.
Mm.
And in your situation, you've got all these different. I looked at the people I've performed with. It's like the list goes on and on and on. And but that's the thing that's interesting about it. And also the other thing you have opportunity for is you don't have to go far to get the next gig. I'm looking at your tour thing, and it's like this UK town, this UK town, and you're probably only going maybe 100 kilometers or 200. You're not going that far to get to the next place.
Yes, yes.
That makes it nice. And none of them are like really gigantic. I mean, over here, but it was to play 16,000 people arenas and all that stuff. Although a lot of people now are settling into 1,000, 2,000 people. And so you can see a lot of people in a short period of time and influence. And as you know as well as I do, you're not going to, there's no money in selling records. It's all about touring, you know, and as we say over here, touring and merch.
And actually, that's a good point, because it is like this is what you say. But in my concert, usually people buy records.
Oh,
I
okay.
make money on records because people want to. I just play new pieces,
Now,
So
what do they buy?
get
They buy
those CDs.
CDs or vinyl, or what do they buy? CDs?
They buy CDs, and now we included in the CD, we included a QR code, which allows them to go through their phone or to the computer and download the music. But I understand that many people on the concert, they want to go home with a little memory.
Sure, they do.
So, and I think, okay, so in the rock world, they get a T-shirt or something like that. But I think in the jazz world music, a CD is still really nice because my wife does the artwork, the paintings.
Oh, wow.
And so I focus a lot on this. And then when you open the booklet, I tell stories, what's going on. And then there's a QR code, and so they can download. So I basically also tell in the concert, please, if you want the music, yes, you can go to a free platform, but you know it's bad for the musician. If you want to support it, get the album. You also get it for the download, and it's forever yours.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay a platform to every month to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm just trying to find ways to make it okay, and for now it's working.